name is Mr. Milton, and welcome to the Mustache Show, where we argue on topics day and night. Today, we will be talking about Native American names and mascots and sports teams. Many sports teams, whether major, minor, college, or high school, have used Native American names and mascots. But the main question, is it offensive or politically correct to use Native American names and mascots for sports teams? Throughout the years, many sports teams have been forced to change their names and mascots because of this. Now, let's welcome our first guest of the show, Mr. Biff. Biff is a big sports fan, all levels of difficulty as sports. He's top in his fantasy sports league, and many can say with confidence that he knows his stuff. Hello, Biff. How you doing?
Doing well, Mr. Milton.
Okay.
Really excited for the big game today.
That's nice to hear. So, Biff, would you say you're a pretty big fan of sports?
Yes, I would. I watched just about every football game that's been on TV since I was a child. And I've gone to plenty of games as well. And that's just in football. I spend nearly all my free time reading up on athletes and collecting sports cards. I'm very passionate about sports. It's very much part of who I am.
So then, what's your opinion on this whole sports teams using Native American names and mascots controversy?
Well, I never found anything wrong with them. I mean, none of them seem generally grossly offensive by me. The Chicago Blackhawks have taken some slack, and I don't find any ill in that name. Same goes for the Fighting Sioux. Neither do my sports buds. Besides, some of the teams have had their names just for forever. I don't think it'd be right to change them now.
So that's what the sports buds thinks. Thank you, Biff. However, there are plenty of people who would argue otherwise, purporting that names of many sports teams are insensitive and politically incorrect, and are in dire need of change in order to fit the mold of the 21st century. I sat down with one of these political correctness activists, a Boulder resident by the name of Alexandria, to get her...
Alexandria.
Oh, snap. To get her take on the issue. Alexandria, would you come in? Andrea. How you doing today?
Wonderful.
Good. Now, Alex, can I call you that?
Sure.
From what I hear along the grapevine, it sounds like you're quite the active in the struggle against insensitive sports names.
Right you are, Mr. Milton. For decades, names like Redskins and Fighting Sioux have plagued the commercial sporting world. Such names are derogatory and offensive to Native Americans, and it's a shame that they're only now making real progress in changing them.
Wait, you mentioned Redskins and the Fighting Sioux as examples of offensive sports team names. Are those names really derogatory?
Well, of course they are, especially Redskins.
Okay, I can understand that one, but Fighting Sioux? What's so offensive about that?
It creates this image of Sioux being fierce warriors.
Is that a bad thing?
Yes. It just reinforces outdated and politically incorrect stereotypes, like all other names based off of stereotyped peoples, and should be changed in order to make politically correct.
Well, clearly you're in the wrong here. Not all sports teams have to have their names changed for the sake of political correctness. There are many sports teams that have non-offensive names that are abusive names. Sports teams should be allowed to use Native American names and mascots as long as they're not blatantly racist or offensive. The same applies for names based on other people.
Okay, I see. You're one of those people.
There are some who share the belief that sports teams should not have to change their names to be more politically correct because they have that little else in common with sports fantasies. Todd, a Colorado Springs resident, is one of those non-sports people who oppose the changing team name. Hello, Todd. How you doing?
Splendid. Thanks for having me, Mr. Milton.
No problem. The pleasure is mine, Todd. On today's topic, how do you feel about this movement to have offensive and insensitive sports team names changed?
Well, I'm glad you asked. I happen to feel that this whole movement is just a tremendous waste of time and effort. A name is a name. The names on the accused list certainly aren't any slurs, so I don't see anything wrong with them. And these sports teams are privately owned properties. They can call themselves whatever they want as long as people support them.
So you don't think any name currently in use are offensive or need of change?
No. Just because one person finds something offensive doesn't mean that everybody else does, or that we should bend over backwards to meet the whims of this offended individual.
But Todd, this movement is more than just one person.
So it is, but my point still stands. These names aren't offensive or derogatory, and the general public is, well, the sports community don't find any issue with them either. Thus, there was no reason for them to change.
Thank you, Todd,
Thank
for
you.
your opinion. See you later. For my last interview, I decided to seek an unbiased opinion on the matter. An opinion unfiltered by love of sports or strong political affiliation. I found just the man, John Blaine, a Denver resident. Would you come on here, Blaine? John? Mr. Blaine? Nice to meet you, John. How are you?
I'm fine, Mr. Milton.
Well, let's get right into it then. What do you think about the alleged offensive sports team names?
Well, should they be politically correct or should they change? I don't think so. The only name I thought was a little bit much was the Redskins, but that's just my opinion. I'm no sports fan, so there's no real reason for you to listen to my input. What's it matter anyways? I've really never understood why people like to make such a big deal over this. They're just names of sports teams. They're not hurting anybody.
So you couldn't care less about this turnout?
Yeah, basically.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. So I'd like to thank my guests for coming on to my show and voicing their opinions on today's topic. I'm Mr. Milton, and I'll see you on the next argument.